Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony. We are back with you in the Peace and Harmony studios. Good to be back. It has been such a change moving forward, moving into 2022. I just love the refreshing sound of 2022. How about you all? I know it's been a horrendous, horrific, maybe even Herculean past couple of years for you all, for our viewers. And we are here to keep an emotional backbone, basically keep you calm and steady, keep you on what you feel, or better than feel, know that you are on the right path and wherever life takes you. It seems to be really my prerogative to assist you with that clarity and understanding, to shift you away from the being or nonsense that has led you into debilitating or deliberation, nonsense making, silliness, or really just sort of situations where you feel you're not growing or expanding or moving forward, and you can't quite articulate that, especially in your body language, or what we try to call as behavior. What we do. In other words, it's what we do. It reminds me of and I know we like to kind of go in and out of different things here on the channel. And by the way, much love to you all. Let's have an empowered 2022, because we really want to move through the emotional blocks. Basically, what people feel is like they're bracing, they're suffering, they're indecision, they're waffling, they're nonsensing. What was it, Sheryl Crow? Not their pedantry, but it's really interesting when pop culture songs come out with lyrics that pertain to what exactly you're going through. So number one, entering into this video, especially I kind of want the theme or content to be removing energetic blocks that you feel were inhibiting you or are uncomfortable, especially after getting to know yourself after abuse, after gaslighting, after brainwashing, after what is really kind of experienced as maybe torturing. Some of the conversations that I've had with the clients that I've spoken with, or the comments that I view through here, you guys are all like warriors of strength for what you have been through. Oh my gosh, we're talking about situations where you're at the you're at the altar and you're about to exchange vows, and you found out literally the one you're about to marry is with the pool guy, whatever, or some other chump or champ or voluptuous, whoever, and so all this sort of is mind shattering. So it's the congealing and coming together is the kind of coming back to healing that we want to help you burst forth through energetic blocks to come as a result of what we might call narcissistic, psychopathic abuse, emotional neglect, or things that reign true with that really, and certainly we are in the midst of a pandemic, so it really alters a lot of your outlets and your expression that you are used to. So there is, of course, in philosophy, with every crisis comes opportunity. So if you look at your ground foundational beliefs, your beliefs are what you feel you are, your I am, what you truly believe about yourself, what life will bring you. Do I deserve a life of happiness? Would this car work out? Will this relationship work out? Will I be loved? Will I be kissed ever again? These are the feelings and concerns that run rampant in the unexpressed emotional being, or basically, what you might consider the land down under, the Australia of your being. In other words, it has a funny accent, but you're sure listening intrigued. You can't quite hear what's going on underneath, but you better tune in. You don't know if you quite have the equipment to do so. That is the self-doubt. I would say that is one symptomatic or symptomology of after you have been through some sort of abuse or just an indicator that you need to heal from something is that of chronic and then eventually sabotaging self-doubt. Because that will proliferate and become self-abuse, self-sabotaging behaviors, which actually is that which is anxiety, and like a chronic sense of fear. And that will wear you out. It's like you're a car that's just like brand new off the lot, and you're just like at night, you're racing it through the expressway, through the freeway at, you're bucking 110 mile an hour, and you're waking up fatigued and afraid and, easily startled. So oftentimes this can be symptomology, and then what you then sort of underneath it all, you define as victimology or I am, how you define or see yourself in terms of then how your behavior, your action, what sort of emanates forth from you, which is truly your strength. But that is misguided and misinterpreted when you're brainwashed or gaslighted, or you have a relationship with a significant other who is we don't really want to put labels here. There's so much thrown around, and believe you me, this will be forthcoming. I do believe in future events. It'll be much clearer, like, who are the abusers and who are not, because you really have to stand forward and believe what you believe, like from the inside out, not from the outside in. So oftentimes in like a consumer-based society, which most people are in, you might call it consumerism, capitalism. You define yourself by what you got, what you have, where you're at, what your zip code is. And the narcissist or psychopath are these people who tend to become abusive or basically non-supportive, non-empathetic, non-compassionate. They are cold, callous, superficial, grandiose, and they kind of have their own inklings, and their agenda sort of takes away from you. It's kind of like the friendship that takes more away than it gives back. And this can create an emotional block for you. Namely that of not understanding the roadmap of your own being. If that is not kind of like put in the exciting Helen Keller, every day should be lived as, life is an adventure or it's not. Life should be lived as an adventure. Helen Keller, a great orator who was born without eyesight, who was born without audio, and was without the ability to vocalize, yet she became one of the greatest female orators of her time. I mean, talk about having the odds stacked against you. She was one of the first to learn sign language and connect, basically from that place where she had really no ability to communicate. She was handicapped. And then her teacher, who was there with her, kind of like a guardian, or if you think for yourself, it's your guardian presence, it's your guardian angel, it's your higher self, that which is diminished, the landmark, basically, which can be through all sorts of self-negating behaviors, can be diminished within you. So basically that fertile ground which exists within you, that is reflected back as if it is not stable, as if it does not have warmth of being, and it confuses the very inner you as to, how you should be moving forward, or your behavior in relationships. So it's like this, there's this very minute opportunity in consciousness, which you must understand in psychology, which basically comes from either in your solar plexus, which is the seat of your self-esteem, which is where you either deflect or you absorb self-doubt. So if you're with a narcissist who always wants to pedal you down, sort of downcast you, give you second grade looks, always sort of diminish you, condescend, is moody, is telling you you're the blame for everything. You can't do anything right. You don't know how to put a spoon in a bowl of sugar. There's something wrong with you. You can't shut the door right. These are violations of your being, your I am. And unfortunately, there are predatory people, individuals, corporations, etc., beyond the such that exalt for really the advancement of their own being to the expense of others, which means there are interspecies predators. Dr. Robert Hare, psychologist, Madison, Wisconsin, did a lot of study of incarcerated in understanding the fear and mechanisms in psychopathy and like what could cause these people to be and do these things because they don't register self-doubt. These people, so if you've encountered or fell in love with, been married, had a parent or a love relationship who sort of rocked your world a little bit, shattered you, shook you up, or caused you to feel less than adequate, is the number one problem. Inadequate. And so this is going to be very problematic coming on because you can see it in the micro, you can see it in the microcosm. So if we as we look forward in technology, for example, we're looking at the genuine you. This is all about you and getting that interior landscape very stable and beyond self-doubt. So it's unfortunately a part of a relationship. If you're within a sort of a relationship, partnership, even if you will, with a narcissistic or psychopathic person, individual, group, employment, company, whatever, it can go up and up, where the leader from the head down sort of has a sort of it's all about me mentality, and it's what can you do for me mentality on others, causes them to exploit others, which means divulge others for their own self-interest or self-service. What if you have found yourself madly in love, in a partnership, in a family, in a work relationship with someone who does not desire your advancement, your success, your happiness, or does not, have respect for things like open honesty, your boundaries and standards, treats you like a matter of dirt, treats you as if you are scumbag, you are too sensitive, you are too demanding, you are impossible, you are unbelievable, you are stupid, you are moody, or whatever, all the sort of reflection, it causes a negative reflection back. You see, once you've studied narcissism and psychopathy, you look into a gradient, and the focus is really to help others sort of spring back to their youth, their vitality, and their happiness beyond sort of that experience, because those experiences tend to really enslave others in what you might consider a trauma bond, not a relationship. I repeat, what peace and harmony? What is a trauma bond and not a relationship? So a trauma bond inflicts you with sense of guilt, fear, inadequacy, something's not right, something's wrong, something's off, something's unkilter, you should be very afraid. Hold your head up, appear as if, here we go, put on a show, be prepared as if. So in other words, there's all this sort of fear that of the superficialism, or really what might feed things like capitalism, just sort of consumerism, that sort of like, you don't have enough, so you must go, 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 and not be. And it gets all mixed up, and people can't find their direction anymore. After sort of they've encountered this, it becomes sort of traumatizing. And eventually, if it was in your youth, it will inevitably spring forth in the garden of your understanding as you mature and get older, because those seeds, and where was my little envelope? Oh my gosh, those seeds spring forth. Those seeds spring forth. So like, were those seeds a mustard seed, a faith? Like, do you have in your purse, your wallet, or your briefcase every day a massive amount of mustard seeds of faith? Or are you carrying around a bunch of guilt? I'm not good enough. Where's my Prada? Where's my Gucci? Where's my or feeling empty, anxiety, and really, a feeling of abandonment, maybe because you were enslaved through a terrible feeling of guilt, inadequacy, self-doubt, which dampens and pushes down the expression of the personality. So it's kind of like pruning a bush or a tree before it's ready. It's like, have you ever seen those ugly trees and you're like, why did you shape that bush that way? Like, that's so like ugly. Like, you could put anything else, even remove it, put some rocks there or even some just flowers. It would look so much better. So when you're in or exposed to this, and for our viewers here, one of the problems of, and this is the privacy of these videos. These are the questions for you to ascertain, determine, and communicate with such, because oftentimes people don't have a lot of outlets or discourse. Hey, can I meet you at Starbucks? And let me throw around some of the stuff that my husband or wife or my boss or how my health has been doing. Oftentimes people, they only want to hear the good stuff, the fake stuff, what's on the news, what's the great, and they don't want to deal with reality. I mean, why has then been made forbidden? Why has your communication been made forbidden? Why has it been pushed down, shut out? Why were you, sort of shut down by this strong personality or what have you? I mean, because that's who they are, what they are, and you adhered and you commanded. I mean, but for better or for worse, you had to take a vow of something, a vow of secrecy, a vow of silence, a vow of inadequacy. In other words, that sort of contaminates or hurts the seed of a sort of generative sort of self-esteem, self-valuation, self-respect, and being able to have that, carried with you all around, which should be unconscious. So what's so problematic is when, you're experiencing pain, anxiety, fear, and doubt, and then the reactions of such on a daily basis. The bottling up of such, which means I couldn't deal with it then, so I'm going to have to deal with it later. So eventually later might be now, and that then becomes as like an energetic block, like something is stopping me. I feel like afraid, I feel angry, I can't deal with this, or I don't know what my interests are. Like the flip side of that, like I don't know how to put, music back in my soul and skip through the tulips and sing Kumbaya and everything's all right here. My life is stacking up for the good. I like where it's heading for now, like the here and now. So, and it can be a bodily hurt, like we've been saying, an emotional hurt or self-sabotaging behavior that is a result of those relationships, which creates like a block. Like we're saying, it's kind of like I want to go somewhere, but I can't. And then so you have that playing within you, the song, I can't. Is that a great song? Is that a great feeling for you to dance to? And then people begin to then define themselves by I can't. And then I am miserable. I'm terrible. I'm depressed. I don't have what it takes. I'm a no wherewithal. Life this, life that. I mean, you're not embracing the courage of your being. You're allowing some other stuff to get in the way of your generative self, your I am, which is your piece of being, and there's a disruption of that. And you're made to feel guilty as if when you possess that, or you were not allowed to be, you had to do, and that shows you really the resiliency of your being. But basically the fear, if you look at what is the after effect of these relationships, and there, a lot of people are like peace and harmony. Can you make this really quick? And a lot of people want it long, so whatever. But I would say, like a great person, Vincent Jenna said, I think I heard him say, it's basically, it's either you're living in, you're not doing something, you're not experiencing something, you're not moving forward because you're afraid, you're in fear, you're fearful of something. You are afraid, you are fearful. And a lot of people do not want to admit it. So it's one's not admission to confess, admit, or see within themselves that freaks them out, and they bottle it up. It's like a bottle of Himalayan salt that was 18 pounds that they found 20 years later. They're like, oh my God, and it's all bottled up. It's like created a callus almost. It's very difficult to break up, where as if it was dealt in at the moment, and resolved, dealt in with the moment, and then resolved, dealt in at the moment, and resolved, dealt in at the moment, and then resolved, it would have, you would have had maybe a different experience or outlook or perspective. And then you might have a lot of anger, fear, or resentment because of an abusive situation, or maybe you were lied to, maybe you were disrespected, you didn't get what you needed somehow, emotional abuse, emotional neglect, especially that of judgment. I mean, and then it makes you so the problem is that it's okay to come to center, and to be, and not be reactive, like some person, you don't have to be or have a mentor of these individuals. So these are the relationships, unfortunately, they are very difficult to heal from and get over, because they are traumatic, they are damaging, they are destructive, but yet they're coated with some other sort of love, appreciation, deep reverence, or something within you that you cannot get out. It's just part of you. It's like, whoa, this part of you that's like agitating, or like you feel that's beyond your control, and it's seeping into your day-to-day, and you feel that you're missing out, or you're not ascending. You're not rising up to meet a challenge in a specific way. You're not happy. You feel that this could be, you just don't know like where to pick, how to pick it up and get the momentum. It's not, there's no incentive, like, because the narcissist, they won't give you an incentive if you don't adhere. So if you look at it again, coming front and center for healing, and sort of not being afraid to go into that valley and see those very peaceful observations. So if you think of like those beautiful maybe valley observations or vistas that you've seen like in Peru, or the Amazon, just like this vast wilderness of fertile ground, and just see all that like vibrant, so like that's a very vibrant, like there's a lot of vibrancy going on there, and if you look at that within you, you can realize that all that is forthcoming, even though a lot of it was stuffed down and you couldn't see it. It was held from view. And so if it's held from view, that means it's pushed out of your understanding and your ability to comprehend and process in the moment. And that leads to future agitation. So in other words, especially like in the book that I'm writing, one thing, people have they're uncomfortable to see within themselves. So in other words, we have to like imagine ourselves in that Amazon setting, or a very fertile place, and looking at the strength really of the divinity, or the strength of earth to rebound itself, or just certain areas that are just beyond, they just have a restorative or beautiful factor, like the Amazon, the birds, the scent, the effervescence in the air, singing with life. I mean, that there's places like this that you have visited and been there for just a moment, So that's what we call your B state. So, those are some often, some awesome experiences to experience. So that is just an experiential, where the fear is forgotten. It's dissolved. You're at one with just some sort of feeling of bliss, euphoria, and then you can make decisions or behave from this. And oftentimes in that just very state of peace, that coming to center is a very important place to get comfortable with, and then look at, some things as a result that have hurt, offended you, or resulted in some self-sabotaging behaviors, which then you have engendered within you, which you're not happy with, because it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a pollutant or a byproduct, but it's kind of like an energetic imprint that is left within you. So like you have to learn to take ownership. There is a managing system, an internal radar that can tune into a strength. But if you haven't been taught that you have a strength, even in your worst of worst moments, then you won't have experienced that, so you don't know how to call on it experientially. So we need to get experience, a positive experience, and get sort of in that a comfortable place, and get comfortable with looking at some of the things that we were previously uncomfortable looking at, because those are your inhibiting factors. Those are the things that are running through you that make you feel nervous, twitchy, make you feel that you're not making good decisions or you are missing out. So in other words, crisis is opportunity. It's a time to look within and be restorative within, rather than trying to feed or not solve it from without. In other words, put things on it. Kind of like a Kim and Kardashian and Kanye overcast. I mean, I just kind of realized, those guys are in the news every day. You guys, what is that about? I mean, talk about a tumultuous relationship that's put on the screen, and what, so people are identifying this, with this. And just like right now, a lot of people are identifying with, I've been shut out, I haven't been included, I haven't. And they're talking about themselves, their gender identity, their neurogenetics, their neuroplasticity, their skirt versus pants, this versus that, or whatever. So it's a time of change, yet it's an okay to have a permanency of being that's founded and based in something more comfortable, rather than distraught, distress, and apathy, and poverty, consciousness, and that sort of exhausted, sort of fearful feeling that will be a byproduct of sort of always having to live up to some other standards that you're not ready for, or that you're not about, but you had to be about, or you found out that you were duped, cheated on, and, behind your back, or, lied to from a pathology, place. And it's really caused you a lot of suffering, and like these sort of holding back behaviors, resistance to moving forward, or just not able to be happy on the day-to-day. That's a shame. And instead, life should be about this. Like, where's your notebook? Where do you resonate with instead of that? Because we have to get comfortable with looking at the uncomfortable. And so if you ask yourself right now, in the privacy of this video, if you can get a notebook, it doesn't have to be this special one, get a notebook. I mean, get a notebook. Is it skinny? Is it fat? Is it plain paper? What kind of pen are you writing on? But you need to ask yourself, you need to kind of better understand your understanding, so you're not feeling this sort of stuck or sickness as a result, or whatever it is from, where you're feeling judged, berated from, because usually that's what a supply relationship, you're always having to prop up somebody else rather than being supported within. And it feels like you're being supported just because they're giving you kudos for being with them. Or it's just this very sort of superficial relationship. So it can cause you to ignore a lot of your own needs, essentially. Ignore a lot of your strengths. A lot of your ability to say, hey, I am strong in the world just as I am, and love me as I am. Because the narcissist, basically, they don't love you as you are. The psychopath, they do not love the narcissist. They always want to fix, control, change, have power over, and take credit for you. It's like that you can never have credit of your own. They're always wanting to claim, if it wasn't for me, it's always, and so there's this, and this can be survivorship guilt. This can go through generations and families. If it wasn't for your grandma, you wouldn't, and then if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for me doing this, you wouldn't have, and so you're expected to carry this lifelong guilt, a guilt trip, they used to say back in the day. What if that trip has become your whole life long, and you're like, man, where's the ticket, man? Like, ticket aboard, better life street. I don't want this fear, anxiety. I don't need to be all like this, puffed out or whatever. It's okay to be me, and that doesn't mean I'm weak, meek, or otherwise. I am me, and that is enough. So the narcissist, you see, they don't live there because they don't feel that they are enough. They always need likes, wants, desires, etc., advertisements. They need your. They need whatever it is of your. So, and there's always this trauma bond versus a relationship. So I think it was Khalil Gibran who said, love should be like water flowing between you in relationships. It shouldn't feel like there's like a rope that's flowing over a river that you're supposed to somehow always hold on to. That will wear you out, and that can be like you end up like walking, even though you're like, have you ever seen those like people who do the professional what is it what do they used to do at those family reunions, the push or tug or pull or tug? It's like you're always having this on your waist, you're always having to toe the line, you're always having to be in a tug of war. Really, a tug of war, bodybuilders. I mean, what are they? Do they have an internal tug of war? Do you want to be man against man? I mean, do you want to like end this war? Man against woman, where is this? And so it becomes very victim-like. In other words, people then carry a sense of victimhood around, meaning they feel less than, they feel inadequate, or they must bolster up themselves somehow to be accepted. And this doesn't allow people to really dream their real dream. It doesn't allow them to be their true self. It causes them to be a false self. In other words, put on a persona, a mask, people pleasing. You must do this. You must do this. You must do this to have, rather than it's okay to be who you are. And then that is enough. And then in fact, why should you be guilty? Because basically you can't really be human. Human to have feelings, emotions, needs. Humans are not always perfect. They need to talk through things. They have questions. They don't always know things. They don't know everything. They oftentimes feel they don't want to ask a question, or they don't know that they should ask a question, especially now with technology. A lot of people want to check out from a lot of this extra. How much time does it of your day is taken managing this stuff for a lot of people? It's like another highway, on your device. Like, how much of this traction do you want to walk over yourself? So really the fear, the fear is instilled. The doubt is instilled within these relationships. And so you must kind of come to admittance. Meaning, if you can admit within. So part of the book that I'm working on and writing, I feel one of the real inhibitive factors is fear itself. In other words, you can't process it, you can't see it. A certain fear factor that has been sort of as culminating within you as a result of this moving forth. In other words, it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's unpleasant. You're feeling unsure. And at first it feels like, well, this should be normal. But then you realize, like, this is not normal. This takes too much maintenance. And you don't have the courage to move on because if you feel that you're committed to a person who hurts you or preys upon you, it's like you're committed to a slot machine. I mean, it's really, the odds are kind of stacked against you. You don't want to have that sort of gambling mentality, but that's oftentimes what these sort of relationships will instill and create. And if you're not careful, you will live by. And you'll live by, instead of from the inside out, you'll live from the outside in. In other words, you identify with those things versus just being like, oh, it's okay for us just to sit in or just to be here for a moment. And then they'll call you lazy. They'll call you a nickname. They'll give you tell you a sound or ignore you. You're not exciting enough. and then they'll come back, and then they'll want that normal, that strength, that stability that you possess, but you couldn't own it. They couldn't reflect it back to you because they didn't own it themselves. So what I'm trying to say is you have to look at and ask yourself the question, what have, even though, and so this is for your notebook right now, peace and harmony, even though I don't want to admit it, what I have really been avoiding to take care of is what I need to do, even, what I have been hiding from myself is, even though I don't want to admit it, is what I need to do, even though I haven't wanted to admit it, I've been too afraid to do and to admit it is. And if you can look at it from that sort of Amazon, like, this is, we can do this. This is no big deal. This is no biggie. We can process this. It might seem big and strenuous to you. In other words, you don't feel like you have the capability or the competency, but that's only because something erroneous has been reflected back to you, and you've owned that as your truth. So you've owned a false truth. You've owned that you don't know how to do this. For some reason, part of you, I don't know how to handle this. I just need to suck it up. I just need to shut, I can't live on my terms and conditions. I can't, because you're not coming from an inner sense of worth, and you don't know what that is, and you don't know how to get there. So if you can get there, as part of it is, like I talk about, sort of, you have to get it out and get it on paper. So it might be 20 things. It might be 3 very important things. So even though I don't want to admit it, what I really need to take care of is, and you were sort of, it could be the laundry, it could be the tax bill, it could be lawn maintenance, it could be time for yourself, it could be redoing your home office into more of a sanctuary than an office, it could be making your life more of a sanctuary than an office. I really need to be more at ease. I'm wearing myself out. I need more of this and not that. So in other words, it gives you the internal volume to come in and see this for yourself. But oftentimes there's so much resistance, pushing away, suppressing and repressing. The great Sigmund Freud talks about these. And if they are pushed away for so long, they become, really sort of looming there bigger than they are. So you need to shrink them down to size and bring them to a place where they're, addressed, and you can let go. In other words, it's okay to then see the value, the flip side within. But you see, there's a very important point that I address in my book, which is that, because why is it so difficult to heal and let go? Because that which is mirrored back doesn't match an inner vibration that you truly feel, believe, or own within. In other words, I feel I'm a happy giving this and this, or, you might have been told so many things. You're bad, you're this, we don't have, you'll never have, don't think about, that's not important, put up and shut up, we don't need to talk, I'm not going to tutor you, I don't have time, don't cry, all those things. So there's a lot of these. If it becomes a lot in your relationships, it can really turn into a big internal stressor. It can affect your hormone balance, your neuroendocrinology, how you process things, how you live and value and deal with things from the inside out. So the narcissist is like always coping, and it's okay for you to be human and be as you are. The great Joni Mitchell, will you take me as I am? Or will you love me as I am? In all her explorations, through her, wanderings and meanderings, she's a great writer, pianist, vocalist, everything else back in the day, decades ago. But she's prolific and a mentor for a lot of musicians, female and male alike. So, she did a lot of on-stage performing and such. But, she spoke of a different age, just sort of a shift of consciousness, a different way of looking at things. Instead of, beating, and you can look at her philosophy, but either way, coming around back to you and your philosophy and your way of being. look at the triggers and what has really truly sent you down the wrong path. So you might not want to see or admit or own where you had made a wrong decision, a wrong turn, made or are at this current time engaging in behaviors that are self-sabotaging, unbecoming, or they're not liberating you to be and feel into what you are able and capable and worthy of becoming. In other words, you feel chronically unhappy. You feel inhibited. You don't know how to live in your element from a joy, or there's something that is seeping over into other things, and it's just it's not helping anything. So you're wanting your life to be better. So if you look at those questions, even though I can't admit it, what I really need to do is, because you need to put that instead of immutable where you can talk about it place, because you need to transcend it and not disown it as a terrible part of yourself. Because if you say that's terrible part, you're saying I'm terrible, and that's not true. That's just called fallacy belief. That's called erroneous thinking. But more important, you have an nihilistic belief or something about you that is not self-supportive. And and so you're then perpetuating this, and you're living in anxiety and doubt rather than strength, and you want to get past it. So you want to see the problem and how you've been contributing. You can always take a look at that self. And you can also ask yourself, the main thing holding me back from taking actions in my relationships and interests is. One of the main things holding me back from taking action in relationship or interests or even states of being happy is. So, and just, it can be silly, it can be outrageous. This is not for you to criticize. When we do these, this is for it to come out just as it is. It doesn't have to be anything. But as you witness it, you'll say, oh, like, I really thought this and this, and no, I really, that's ugly. I don't want to go that way. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to live that way. That's, and I've had and a coming to that, a rebirth from that. You're coming to a rebirth, meaning part of that, that's not right, and saying that was erroneous, that was flawed thinking, and that led to erroneous or flawed behaviors, which caused me to trip up, do this, and that's not me anymore. And you stand then from a better perspective. The main things holding me back from being happy or taking actions that would make me happy is or are. So lack of is usually going to start your sentence. It doesn't matter. You could have tons of money in the cash, in the bank, yet you're questioning, I don't have the discipline. I don't have the time. I don't have the space for this. You don't have the space for this and you live in a mansion. How can this be? Maybe you need to get organized. Maybe you need to be happy with where you are. Maybe you need to have better appreciation for where you're at. Maybe you can say, wow, I'm better off without this and I'm better off with that. Even though I didn't want to admit it then, I am better off without this and I'm better off without that. And then to accept and admit for yourself, but really come to a truth of understanding rather than being shaded by or being distracted by, especially now when we talk about healing. I feel it's so important to have a sense of being centered because so much is out there to take you off center. Be it advertising, be it emojis, being it how many thumbs up did you get? How are you self-evaluating through technology or more organic? These people become like inorganic. And they are not able to be sort of fused within your being. And it's okay for you to admit it. So Even before I wasn't comfortable, I'm okay to admit it that. I'm okay to admit. I'm okay to be okay with. I'm okay to accept. I'm okay to accept that I don't want to self-sabotage myself and I want to make a change of being. I'm okay to admit that this feeling I'm willing to spend time in and look at, even though it might take time, peace, and harmony. I can understand what this is, and I don't want to be on this guilt trip. I want to like yank it out, yank it out, and yank it out and be done with it. Like, I'm done with the guilt trip. I'm done with wondering, you're thinking it all out, and sometimes you just have to be about yourself and do you and just be about you. And that's okay. That is enough. You can do this. The seeds of greatness are within you. Begin saving 10 to 15% of your income and put it in a envelope that says the seeds of, look at me going out of camera. Put it in an envelope and write across it the seeds of greatness. And put 10 to 15% of your income in there and own that. Those are your seeds of greatness. And those seeds can be monetary, or you can put the seeds of greatness, like an exercise in the book that I'm working on. You can put, in the seeds of greatness in your own I am. Seeds of greatness need to be discovered, uncovered, revealed within. So seeds of greatness. Your seeds of greatness. What are you carrying around within? Are you carrying around a little pocket of mustard seeds, that are so light but yet they're bouncing around because you have faith? Or have those been taken from you somehow? Did you have something where you did have and that had been, you learned to not appreciate that, or that part of you was not appreciated, your own little seeds that you had put into somebody, or you had, were failed to be nurtured within or without, that you can then look at that and then you can put that in an envelope. Where's my envelope? I did not bring it. Okay, I'm sure you guys have an envelope. If not, go get some. Whatever color, violet, turquoise, neon pink. Mine, I think, is brown, paper bag brown, seeds of greatness. So what color is your envelope for your seeds of greatness? Where have you put it? And where can you have that belief? Because chances are, in a narcissist relationship, part of that was yanked away from you, not reflected or not experienced, not vocalized or communicated. So that's what's your seeds, your own seeds of greatness have been kept out, pushed out of your own view, your own experience, your own being, your own feeling, tasting, touching. Your own seeds of greatness were not in, you don't feel like it was installed within you. That's what the narcissist will make you feel, that you don't have any seeds of greatness within you. That's part of the problem, and it can cause a lot of this moodiness. It can cause a lot of people to shut down. But you don't understand, if you it's okay to have your own sacredness room, your own altar, your own sacredness, where do you look at your seeds of greatness? Do you have them out in front of you on your lawn? Do you have them within? Have you been able to sprinkle them in on your recovery dates? Or have they been made toxic or ruined? Or what but because of some other suffering that you haven't addressed. We truly need to get comfortable with looking at what you felt was uncomfortable, or you felt inadequate with processing, dealing with, or where you were mistreated. And then instead are saying, I'm a victim. That was like your imprint out of it. I mean, if people, you might as well have a big, Timberland boot across your face and you're down in the cement, how do you, a lot of people truly feel that they have been walked on, that they have been used. They have a deplorable feeling. They feel empty inside. There's all these things. And yes, we are going to be bringing forth some guests. I am still in the process of getting everything up and running for this new year. We are running peacefully. We are empowered. We have center of moral compass and being. So that's going to light the fire within. We have to light the fire and know that changes and miracles can happen and are happening. But you have to commit to and really see and getting rid of removing those blocks, especially the negative ones that have been inhibiting me. The negative beliefs, which you feel are mirrored back, but you have to remove those from your environment or even your musculature, sort of rapport or apathy, your way of being, your inner cultivation, or what you cultivate for what you really true see to spring forth. You can do this. You can move on. You can stop seeing the negative in everything. You can be in a better place. But you have to call that forth and bring that forth and then commit. So number one, what is it that I'm, even though I don't want to admit it, what I really need to look at and do and process is, and I am working on, and then write 1 through 10. And what I don't, so if you can ask that about yourself and get that to pop up and you go, oh, that's part of the fear that's holding me back, that has been instilled. And that's a false fear. That's something false that's a bad seed. You want to yank that out. Ugh. Get it. I mean, if you want to physically, hello. Cheers to that. If you want to physically yank it out, okay, where are you getting it out? That fear needs to be processed out. It's an erroneous feel. An erroneous thought. It's an erroneous feeling. And even though I felt fear before, what I really can do is, even though I felt fear or inadequacy before, what I really can do is, I really can be in a relationship. I really can be mellow. I really can be magnificent. I really can be intelligent. I really can be the breadwinner. I really can be a poet. I really can be compassionate. I really can be easygoing. I really can be kind and gentle. I really can be. See, there's a lot of these qualities that you own that are a part of you that the narcissist wants to sort of shave off you and not admit that they're great, because they just don't do that. The narcissist, they might want you always doing that to them, like as if you're so lucky, but they won't give it back to you. So there's a huge double standard that will run that will run through people. And this can really bring you down, and that can be the source of this feeling inadequate. So looking at that, understanding that, and I've had those pictures before. So like right now, where's that uncomfortable feeling? Where is it sort of holding you back? And, to remove that is to literally remove. And so you can either, if it's guilt or fear, survivorship guilt, we really need to get good at naming this. Maybe it's just something simple. This is rejection, abandonment, inadequacy. You will never have guilt. Guilt is a big one for a lot of people for many reasons. I can't do it. I'm not a writer. When you're a writer, you're a painter, you're a gardener, you're a listener, you're a mother, you're a father, you're this, even though there's certain things that are taken off of center, you need to be able to put that back. And it's okay to be center. It's okay to own the more nuanced ways of your being. It's okay to not feel less than. It's okay to feel okay. And it is okay to deal with. So then the miraculous then really to help you with the momentum of being, will then be either repeating or removing that in a number of sequences every day for 9 days. So if you can say 27 times and move, I remove the guilt, I remove the guilt, I remove the guilt, I remove the guilt, I remove, and if you can say it 27 times for 9 days, and if you can mark that in your book, and if you have in there, day 1, this is when I started, and 2, 3, 4, and then number your days in your calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how I keep track. But if you can say 27 times, I remove the guilt, or I remove the inadequacy, I remove the shame, and speak it out loud and mean it, and write it 27 times, and feel it, meaning you believe it. I remove the guilt, 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 I remove the anger, I remove the anxiety, I remove the fear, I remove the reactiveness, I remove the reaction. I see clearly, and I stand in strength. I stand in strength. I stand in strength. So if you can address it and then simultaneously address it, I stand in strength. I remove the inadequacy, and you say that 27 times, and then I stand in strength 27 times. And if you do that for 9 days, and do that in earnestness, in trust, and if you want a miracle, if you want a miraculous change and you want a shift, do that. Same things if there's things in your environment. When we talk about problems in relationships that have been, with others who have been, maybe they hurt you in business. That's a big one. You might see it, especially as it affects your business, your professional life, or your income, or your relationship to money, because that's emotionally tied to your sense of worth. How much money you have in the bank, or certain things in your environment will reflect it back to you, your own philosophy or your own sense of worth. So oftentimes it's those true, endearing internal parts of the personality which have been deflected back as inadequate in these relationships. So it's your B states. Oh boy, here come the B states. It's time to be, it's okay. They affect your B states. I am strong. I be strong. It's just your B states. They're not, I am a provider. I am, I am kind. I am gentle. Because when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, oftentimes to make themselves better, they downgrade others. So they have made oftentimes that those inherent strengths that are part of you seem dulled, absent, mired in guilt, or annihilated. In other words, pressure to be forgotten, not communicated or lived from. In other words, not allowed to be your center of being. So if you think about that center, coming to center, and what that means, and that might be very scary, or that might not have been visited for a lot of people. So they're unfamiliar with being centered. They're unfamiliar with a certain strength of personality, that because of that, it has gotten them into trouble. It's gotten them into trouble because they feel inadequate. They act inadequate. They look inadequate, which is, and it does not match up with who they truly are. So they have this sort of inadequacy or shift or discomfort or suffering. This is pain you have to get leverage over. And when the pain is great enough, you will get power over it. You'll say you know what? Enough is enough. And it can be a small enough is enough. Meaning that you can see and admit to see where harm was done and say, enough is enough. I want to step away from that inadequate feeling and say, it is okay for me to say I am and I am having. So oftentimes there are states that you need to be and self-actualize. Abraham Maslow, the top of the pyramid, remember? Once we have our basic needs met, we need to self-actualize. In other words, food, water, shelter, warmth, these basic needs to be met. If you don't have your basic needs met, you can't go. There's no progressing forward. But this becomes a button that you need to transcend, and you need to ascend and remove judgment of yourself and others unequivocally to see, like, why am I having so much trouble accepting myself? That's a great question. Why am I having such a hard time accepting this place in my life? Why am I having such a hard time? Why is this person giving me such a hard time? Is another one, but that's none of your business. If someone's giving you a hard time, you need to get them out of your energy field. They are not worth it. They are not worth it. Your life is too important. Time is your greatest commodity. You do not need to waste it. Especially the emotional distraction. You can get sucked down a really big rabbit hole with these narcissistic people, events, places, and ways of living. Living on someone else's judgment, and then feeling that you're operating on your strengths. You're not allowed to be supported. So you need to remove those. I remove. What physical body movement? I remove. Do you yank it out of your shoulders? Do you yank it out of your stomach? Whoa. We're getting, cheers. We're getting the movement going in here. So where do you yank it out from? Where is the pain? If you can think of it, maybe you don't have any pain. Well, lucky you. Maybe everything is hunky-dory for you. But if you have a lot of unpleasantry, I remove the unpleasant memories. 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 And just give them up to that lush Amazon that can process them. They're strong enough. They're like the lungs of the world. They can process some of your guilt if you put it out there. I think the universe, the world is strong enough. So you can put it out there and get it out. And then allowing yourself to just stand in the present. So oftentimes this is a very difficult feeling. A lot of people who have been abused or traumatized, they show up at work very anxiety ridden. And they can be this way for decades of their life. And this can be a way of being. And they just basically will make it till they make it. And then they're like, well, now what do I do to make it from here? So we need to look at that, and you need to be calm because you are here. This is where you're supposed to be. It's okay to be feeling this, but we're going to move forward through this in a way of strength and grace, and not a way of, you're not crumbling, you're not breaking down, you're not, you do have a vision, a present, and a future, and things that you can joyfully, gently move forward from. But it's important to have some tools that you can use to get leverage over this and gain clarity from. So either the physical movements, the statements, where you can see and confront certain things that are saying, wow, you know what? I really can do. I really can be. I really do have. So these are like the statements that you can see, oftentimes which are dulled or sort of fogged up, from you. These are the reflections that are not able to be reflected back or you didn't experience that. So we need to kind of do an emotional redo, if you will, and get you back strong in that center, that core. I am, I have, it is okay. It is okay. You know, and if you have certain moods, they are meant to propel you forward. So for people who have a lot of anger, you know, that oftentimes is a very high energy. That's actually, if you can reframe that, I'm very excited to be liberated. Reframe, I am so angry I am so excited to be liberated. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate, and for goodness sake, please like. A lot of our viewers are like, Peace and Harmony, you know, I always think back, why don't you have so many, why don't you have more viewers? Well, you guys, if you just click the like button, that will help us move the channel forward, and I guess it has to do with the algorithm to getting up there with YouTube. We will get up there. We're back running strong. Have a beautiful day. Love you. Mwah. Keep it going strong and keep tuned. Keep yourself tuned for more great videos and be strong. You are love. You will be.